Imagine stumbling upon a hidden treasure that defies explanation, a collection of crystal skulls scattered across the globe, each possessing an almost supernatural aura and an ancient secret. Today we delve into the captivating world of the crystal skulls, exploring their origins, controversies, and the enduring fascination they hold for both archaeologists and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Hi folks, I'm Johnny and welcome to The Oddest. These mysterious artefacts of unknown origin have fueled countless debates and stirred up a good dose of intrigue. Some folks swear by their hidden powers, thinking they're more than just fancy sculptures. Others, well, they call it a hoax, cooked up for profit, or a shot at fame. Let's talk about ancient history for a second. See, back in the late 1800s, these exquisitely carved skulls started showing up. They're made from clear or milky white quartz. You can find them in museums and in some collectors' secret locations around the globe. Since day one, people couldn't stop wondering where these things came from, how they were crafted, and who created them. Some say they're as old as dirt, dating back thousands, maybe tens of thousands of years back to the Aztecs, the Mayans, or Incas, or maybe even some civilization that we still haven't discovered. And here's the kicker. They're not just eye candy. These crystal skulls are supposedly loaded with supernatural energy, like healing powers and a knack for kickstarting our psychic side when you cozy up to them. Now, remember that movie from 2008? Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Indy's up against a Soviet spy hunting down a telepathic skull in Peru. Peru was once part of the mighty Incan Empire, so you'd think that these crystal craniums might have ties there, right? Well, not so much. Scientists and archaeologists say there's no record of any of these mystical skulls ever popping up during a legitimate archaeological dig. Not even one. Plus, the style and craftsmanship of these skulls don't exactly match the real deal from these pre-Columbian times. Another interesting point is, there are no Aztec or Inca legends or stories about these strange skulls. If you ask me, that's pretty strange, especially as they would have been a very big deal. So, the smarty pants scientists at the British Museum in London and the Smithsonian Museum of History in Washington DC, well, they had their hands on a couple of these crystal skulls over the years. They've all gone CSI on them using electron microscopes and other scientific gadgets. What they found just added to this mystery. See, the markings on these skulls, well, they're more in line with modern carving tools, not the kind of ancient methods like rock tools or bones. The experts developed the opinion that the skulls quite possibly were simply created in the mid to late 1800s as nothing more than an attempt to drum up attention, as at that time the big thing around the world was ancient relics. But here's where it gets twisty. Some of these skulls, well, they have this fancy craftsmanship that make you think that they might have been some high-tech wizardry back in the day. It could be that these tools were around centuries ago, further back in human history than we know. See, there's this theory circulating the scientific community these days that we are wrong about a lot of ancient history, and some scientists and experts in the field believe that there may have been more than one ancient society that possessed advanced technology. But listen, that's a topic for a future video. Just look at the discovery of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, more than 11,000 years old and chiselled with a precision that couldn't have been made with tools of that time. Or think about the Great Sphinx, with its weathering that suggests it's been chilling there for over 12,000 years, way back when the desert was a lush paradise. These crystal skulls, they certainly throw a wrench into our history timeline. Who knows? Maybe some of these skulls from the 1800s are just clones created to be copies of the real McCoy. Now that's a crafty move. But imagine if that's the case. Imagine if there is only one true crystal skull. It came from wherever it came from, and it truly holds secret powers. Surely the sensible thing to do would be try and make replicas of it in order to distract people from the real thing. So where did they actually come from? As you can imagine, there have been many theories over the centuries, some more credible and more likely than others. What do you think is the top theory of these crystal skull origins? Here's a short break whilst you think about it. Yep, you guessed it, aliens. These crystal skulls carved from solid quartz are hands down one of the most mind-boggling things us modern folks have ever laid eyes on. Now, the whole where they came from saga, that's been a royal rumble, but the tales spun around these gems say they popped up in places like Peru, Colombia, Mexico and Central America. Now, here's the thing. The kind of crystal that are used to carve these bad boys wasn't exactly lying around Mesoamerica at that time. The only spots known for this clear quartz action was Brazil and Madagascar, on a whole other continent. So the question is, how in the heck did they get there? Shipping a bunch of crystal across oceans back in the 12th or 13th century, well, that sounds like a stretch, especially given what we know about history. So that's why some folk wonder if these beauties might have hitched a ride with someone, or maybe something with some fancy mode of transportation. And yeah, you guessed it, they're thinking extraterrestrial.
There were 13 heads.
Ooh,
and it was purported that the Navajo, the Anasazi, the Mayans, the Aztec each had one. The most famous one is the Mitchell Hedges skull, which was found in the Yucatan by Anna Mitchell Hedges. She reached into a cave. She was with her grandfather, and it was around 1926, and she reached in, and there was an oilcloth covered item in there, and she pulled it out and opened it up, and there was the two-piece detachable jaw Mitchell Hedges skull. Beautiful skull. The Hewlett-Packard engineers did a test on it in the 60s. They said it could not have been carved by a lapidary, by tools. It had to have been polished over hundreds of years, over centuries, to get to the shape that it was. So they said it was a polished item.
Now, let's talk about the crown jewel of these crystal skulls, the Mitchell Hedges skull. It's said to be carved out of a solid quartz block, about the size of a human head. Back in the early 70s, this guy called Frank Dorland, well, he was a freelance art restorer, and he got his hands on the Mitchell Hedges skull. He said whoever carved this thing didn't seem to care about the natural grain of the crystal, which isn't the easiest way to do this. He also went on to say that after analysis of the actual skull, it was clear that no metal tools were used. Frank couldn't find any scratch marks, nothing, except some traces of grinding on the teeth. He thought that they might have started with diamonds, chiselling away, and then took their sweet time sanding, grinding. However, he said that this process would take anything between 200 to 300 years. Now that's dedication. Another major plot twist is the level of detail on the skull. It's next level stuff, like way beyond what ancient Mesoamerican toolkits could ever have pulled off. Some people reckon this kind of craftsmanship had to come from beings with a few extra IQ points, or some serious cosmic knowledge. Those who have owned and held the skulls swear by its power, saying that they possess the ability to heal. Let's take a wee trip back to the Victorian era. One of the main players in the crystal skull craze was a British explorer named Frederick Mitchell Hedges. Back in 1924, he and his adopted daughter Anna decided to go on a wee adventure into the Yucatan jungle in what's now known as Belize. Their destination? Lubantun, an ancient Mayan city hidden away deep in the thick jungle. There they stumbled upon an ancient pyramid, and guess what they found? You guessed it, a crystal skull. Old Freddy described it as a mysterious object carved from a single chunk of clear quartz. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Mitchell Hedges had a wee bit of a reputation for stretching the truth when it came to his adventures, so it's entirely possible that this crystal skull could be one of his wild embellishments. But the man stood his ground, insisting that these relics were the real thing. He even claimed that the skull had a nasty habit of bringing bad luck to those who just laughed it off. Some folks supposedly got seriously ill just by getting too close to these things, and when asked how he got his hands on it, well, that was a secret that he kept till the day he died. After his dust-settling moment, his daughter Anna took up the crystal skull banner and started spreading its myth all over the globe. She even dropped the tidbit that the Mayans used this thing to summon death. As the skull's fame grew, so did the skeptics. They decided to get all scientific about it and tried radiocarbon dating, thinking that they could nail down its age. But No chance. See, these skulls were made of quartz, and that method, well, is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. So they whipped out the big guns, light and scanning electron microscopy. They gave the skull a real close look, analysing the scratch marks and whatnot. And you know what they found? Well, it pointed straight to the mid-19th century Victorian era equipment at that time, not some ancient Mayan handiwork.
The woman at the Smithsonian who has the two there, I think they're a cloudy orange one and a cloudy green one, and they're smaller. She says they're all fakes, that they were carved by a German lapidary in the 1800s and that he seeded them around the world. Well, wait a minute. I think one was found in Tibet, one was found in Ohio, we're hearing, at the Serpent Mounds.
Why does she think this one gentleman did it?
Because he was an expert lapidary. He had the tools to do it, and she figures her theory is that they're not artifacts polished by tribal hands and passed down, that they're all fakes. But it's just, wait a minute, he would have had an airship to go and deposit these wherever they might be around the world.
So there you have it. Theories flying around that most of these crystal skulls were cooked up by Victorian tricksters, maybe in Germany, maybe in Mexico, who saw dollar signs and the mystic fascination of the day. But hold up, does that mean that every single crystal skull is a fake? Well, that's a mystery that still lingers. Now let's dive into the mystic waters of Atlantis, a legend that's been keeping folks guessing for ages. You see, the only information we've got about this mythical city comes from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. He painted Atlantis as this dreamy island civilization that got swiped off the map by some nasty natural disaster about 11,500 years ago. As for where exactly Atlantis was, well, your guess is as good as anyone's. But if we ever stumble upon this sunken city, you better believe that it's going to be a treasure trove of secrets about our ancient past. That's where these 12 crystal skulls straight out of Atlantis come into play. It's a common belief that each of these bad boys holds the key to one of Atlantis' 12 temples. These keys, well, they were supposed to be hidden from us mere mortals until we got our act together and proved we were worthy. Take for instance the skull from the Temple of Animals. Now sure, there are plenty of folks out there who care for our furry, feathered and finned friends, but let's be realistic. There's also a whole bunch who ain't exactly winning any kindness awards against animals. They treat animals like they're disposable, and that's a real downer. So the deal is, until we learn to live in harmony with all living creatures, showing them love and respect, well, that skull from the Temple of Atlantis, strictly off limits. Now, these Atlantean crystal skulls aren't your run-of-the-mill knickknacks. They're packing some serious cosmic power. We're talking telepathic communication, supercharged intuition, scrubbing away bad karmic vibes, and even some kind of link-up with the other skulls. In short, these things could make our world a better place, but we have to level up ourselves before we get to have them. Let's be honest, we've got a long way to go before we get to there. Legend has it, when you gather all 12 of these skulls, they will whip up some kind of magic that then births a 13th skull. Something entirely different. Maybe it opens a portal to another dimension. Who knows? The thing is, we're still in the dark about how these crystal marvels even came into existence in the first place. Plus, there's a whole puzzle to solve about the connection between these Atlantean skulls and the ones that supposedly hailed from the ancient Mesoamerican crowd. The crystal skull and the New Age movement, they go way back, all the way to the early 20th century. But it wasn't until the groovy 70s that the whole new way of thinking really took off in the Western world. Now this movement, it's a real mixed bag, with folks drawing inspiration from all sorts of religions, cultures and traditions. It's kind of like a potluck dinner. There's no central ideology, but a whole lot of focus on levelling up human consciousness and ascending to new heights. And what better symbol for this than the crystal skulls? You see, for these New Agers, these skulls are like a shot of life, enlightenment and fresh starts. It seems odd because most folks see skulls as a gloomy reminder of death, but think about the ancient Aztecs and Mayans. They had a different take on this. They saw death as just another part of the journey, not something to dread, but something to celebrate as a new beginning. So for the New Age crew, Crystal skulls are power-packed symbols, brimming with magical powers. They're all about boosting psychic abilities, empowering intuition, and some even claim they've got a direct link to clairvoyance and telepathy. Of course, there's the skeptics chorus, singing a tune that says that it's all just slick sales pitch for some crafty tricksters trying to cash in on a new age enthusiasm. And let's face it, there have been shady characters in the past caught trying to pass off modern-made skulls as ancient relics. But here's the kicker. Amidst all the fakes floating around, there are still those who say that they are the real deal, holding on to their historical and cultural significance. Now, as for the burning question of whether these skulls pack any supernatural powers, well, that's a mystery that's still up in the air. We've got the top 5 crystal skull theories floating around: ancient civilizations, aliens, or just plain old hoaxes. But no one's got the magic decoder ring to settle that debate. One thing's for sure though, no matter where they came from, these skulls' stories have been weaving their way around the globe, captivating folks for generations. That's it for this video, folks. Thank you all so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. I truly wish you all the very best. Take care of yourselves. Tell someone that you love them. And remember, keep smiling.